I think we've kind of accidentally stumbled upon a pretty good system going back and forth between hunting for... Oh my god.
What happened?
You just appeared right beside me for like half a second.
Why? I'm not supposed to be next to you.
It's just spawned you in an outpost for a second. I think we've kind of accidentally stumbled into a pretty good system of switching back and forth between hunting for competition trophies one week and kind of getting back to the 200 whitetail grind the next week. And of course, last time we were out here in the Hunter Classic, we went for a bighorn hunt, and at the time we were first place in the bighorn competition, and by the end, we did actually get a second place trophy for them, which I think now has us at 8 total species that we've gotten a competition trophy for, and oddly enough, there have been none that have been repeats despite entering competitions for those same species multiple times. But today is a whitetail hunt, and I decided to come out here to Loggers Point just to kind of switch it up. It was the location of our last 190 whitetail and the location of our personal best, and Kylo's here in the game, figured we'd do multiplayer. Might as well have someone out here to kind of hunt another part of the map. And it looks like starting out, we're actually going to have a couple of mule deer bucks coming in. I wanted to kind of scoot through mule deer territory a bit, just to kind of see what we might run into. And for the sake of trying to get to spot them all, we're going to leave that mule deer scent spray over there, and hopefully we can get around these guys and get a good look. We are of course using the heavy recurve once again, and if you guys are getting tired of seeing it, it should only be a couple more hunts. We need like 122, I think, harvest until we're at 1,000, and at that point, we will be switching it up. So hopefully here in the next month or two, we'll be on to another bow. But in the meantime, we need to get out of the way so the mule deer don't notice us here. I think our scent placement was a good idea here because the best looking buck in this group of 3 kind of came in the middle. But I only do see the 3 bucks, and a lot of times mule deer travel in herds of 5, but in this case I'm thinking it is just the 3 of them. So the bad thing is, kind of where we went to kind of hide, is not giving us the best shot opportunity at that better buck. And just because we're right at the beginning of the hunt, I definitely do not want to be firing a gun right now. So that's the one. We can kind of see him there. If he stays still, we can maybe just scoot this shot between some of the brush. It should be about 20 meters. Unfortunately, he's going to run off. I'm not sure where that hit him. The good news is, we actually kind of went up past where we came from, and they ran in the direction where we basically spawned and started the hunt. So we're not necessarily spooking anything that we'd see in the future, but I would like to know what exactly went wrong with that shot. It's body blood, so not exactly the ideal way to start out, but maybe they'll end up leading us to something better, because it's gonna be a little while till we go and recover that guy, I would say. We'll talk about potentially leading to something cool. There is a non-typical mule deer just out there, actually with a pretty decent typical as well. I don't know if we could get them both. I think technically if the typical was above 200, it would be a potential super rare, but when it's like a low 200 like that, it's not something that I feel like is necessarily worthy of the super rare, so we're not going to worry too much about trying to go for that. I'm not sure if they're coming in, but actually, the buck being body hit didn't necessarily lead us this way. It was just waiting for him to kind of expire, and looking around, turns out there's a pretty good buck, but I'm not sure why they aren't coming into the call. Maybe they're a little further away than they look. In that case, we may scoot a bit closer to try to make sure they come in. Well, this might be problematic. The typical is just walking right at us for some reason. I actually don't even know at this point where the non-tip is. That one down there kind of heard that shot. We got away with it for now. I'm going to just go ahead and hold the 243 here just in case. I tend to carry the 243 on loggers for bobcats, but in this instance, we may need it for a non-typical mule deer. I see him there in the back. These are going to spook 100%. So the only move I see is to go ahead and drop him there with the 243. I mean, mule deer are a big deer, so for that shot to be a insta-drop, that was pretty cool. I think this guy's going to be like 190s or so, which isn't bad at all. 183 actually, so maybe a little bit shorter times than I thought, but even still, a good buck. Just when it comes to a non-tip lane across the hill from him, that is the one that I'm worried about and we're going to go and take a look at. By the way, to address the obvious, because I know there are going to be some comments, I did offer it to Kyla. She wants to find everything herself. It's a little more fun that way. And by the way, what was it, a 275 red deer she got yesterday? So she is more than capable as well. But a 238 non-tip, we'll go ahead and take a trophy shot of that. Pretty cool way to start out this hunt. That's kind of 2 in a row. The timber gold hunt with the bighorn, that was one of the first things we found. And then we come here to Logger's Point, mess up a shot, and it ends up, I think, benefiting us in the long run. I'm not so sure we'd have gone this way if we didn't mess up that initial shot. It's hard to say just how big a factor wearing the Summerfield camo actually played there, because having that typical walk right at us and then being able to make the drop shot and kind of get away with that to the point that the other bucks didn't spook may have even allowed us to get that shot off at the non-tip and really prevented us from having like the next half hour of track and stuff. I mean, we gotta go back and get that first buck still, which the good news is by now he is no doubt expired. We can just go and basically run track that, but we were one mistake away there from having a lot of tracking to do and probably not a lot of kills in this video. It does help as well, just the fact that we got to hunt around a little more and shot a couple more bucks. I feel a little better about just fast traveling away from here. I wish we could know what went wrong. I guess it was 28 meters. So the shot was probably just a little bit too low, but a 175 buck there as well. Not too bad. And then I think I'd like to fast travel somewhere south of here. This would be a pretty close fast travel to actually use. Maybe we'll try over here. It's a newer spot. It actually is over where we got our 190 whitetail last time. So there's a grunt from a whitetail right there as well. So hopefully it'll be something good. And actually, he is not bad. 145 to 170. I thought, like, it almost sounds like there's 2 sets of footsteps at times. Uh-oh. Okay, so this is multiplayer. We're gonna have to take this with a gun. We don't have any arrows in our bow. Can we get a next shot? And it's drop him. Kind of unfortunate, I just talked about fast traveling. So in single player, we could have gone into our inventory and replaced those arrows, and it would have essentially paused the game as we did it, but in multiplayer, there's no pausing, so that deer would have spooked while we were doing it. And, I mean, decent sized buck, I'm willing to take that shot with the 243. I certainly didn't expect to have a non-tip and a 160s whitetail down with the 243 about 30 minutes into this hunt, but here we are, and, I mean, maybe it'll stir stuff up and we'll see some stuff moving around because we spooked them, but, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take that shot for a good sized buck. Well, we got kind of snuck up on here by a whitetail doe. Luckily this time, we actually have recurve arrows equipped. There should be a buck coming in. There's actually something somewhere back in here as well. And we have a different whitetail buck way down there. I see the one that we're calling in and it was not very impressive, which at this point, considering the amount of bucks we shot, they've all been pretty good. That is not really all that surprising. Maybe the one down in here is going to be a bit better. It almost ought to be visible. The only thing we got to do is make our shots here, because this thing behind us, which is still staying hidden, definitely is getting closer. I guess maybe I just can't hear all that well, because the animal behind us turned out to be a coyote that was kind of walking away. And given the fact that we need to make sure we make the shots on the animals ahead of us, so that we don't spook the buck that's down there further, we're not going to worry about the coyote and potentially giving ourselves another reason to spook that other buck that is still at this point staying out of our line of sight. He had to be down in there based on where he called from, but he might have been like behind that hill. But with the 2 whitetail dead, we can kind of start inching our way up that way and maybe getting a little closer in case he was out of calling range, because he was at the edge of our hunter mate. But hopefully he's at least going to come this way after all that making the shots and not spooking anything. As for our little buck, we have a pretty interesting shot, right lung, liver, and stomach at that angle. 59 score, so obviously nothing all that special, but there is the indication that the other buck is coming in, so we'll try to find ourselves a spot to set up. Maybe that rock right there ahead of us. is kind of a weird thing because I usually wear the summer forest camo even on Logger's Point, and my kind of instinct is to try to get into the areas that have a bit of trees, because that would give us the best camo. But we can see from our camo view here, the summer field camo is kind of active in these sorts of areas, so I think we're best kind of slowing down right up here ahead of us. Once again, I suppose it is to be expected. Just kind of an average size buck, although he's probably going to score a little above average because he does have quite a lot of points, but definitely nowhere near the level of our first whitetail buck of this hunt. Stopped nice and close for us, and we were just a little bit too far back with that shot, so we're probably going to be, I'm going to say liver stomach, something like that. He's not actually going to go that far, but I think that will pretty much use up the last remaining bit of our fast travel timer, so not even going to be too upset by that. I wanted to fast travel anyway, and we had to wait another couple of minutes, so we can go and claim him, and we'll probably try one more spot before we wrap up today. It is kind of just the way that deer tend to path, but it's funny how often kind of mortally wounded deer end up running near the water in this game, because that's kind of the thing they would do in real life as well, but it's mostly the fact that he happened to just run that general direction and then die near the water. But anyway, with a little bit of time remaining in this hunt, I think we are going to fast travel. I'm trying to decide between these two locations. I think we'll go to this one. It seems like there'd be a better chance of potentially whitetail or mule deer. There is something walking. The hog called, but something is right on top of us here. He is unfortunately pretty small, but at least we do have a buck coming in to this stand. And by the way, the footsteps that we actually heard were this doe right here. And definitely between the choice of the buck and the doe, we're going to go ahead and take the buck. So about a 25-meter shot, and I know we've had some that weren't the best today, but I figured we can make that. And just because we're trying to get the harvest before this doe goes anywhere, we'll go ahead and drop her as well. So a little bonus harvest to kind of help us along our way to the journey to 1,000 kills with every bow. I think at the moment we have the heavy recurve with a bit left, the carbon recurve which has about the same left as the heavy recurve right now, and then it should just be the longbow and the cableback bow after that. So it's been years in the making, but it feels like we finally are getting somewhere with that. But a 56 buck to cap off a hunt that was honestly, for Logger's Point, in about an hour and a half, pretty good. We had a couple of nice typicals, that nice non-tip mule deer, and I mean, it was a whitetail hunt, definitely no 200 today, but never gonna complain about a hunt where we got a couple of nice bucks and a non-typical. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.